You're watching TrustDale TV, the show where we help you with your toughest buying decision. And here's one many of us have faced or will need to face: painting our homes. Our expert on painting is CertaPro painters Bill Sharp. Hey, Bill, thanks for coming on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Dale.
My pleasure. I want our viewers to hear your insider information today. We've shared with our viewers some of your professional tips in the past, and your secrets. So let's help people with learning about painting mistakes that can be avoided. Let's go through some of them, like buying new brushes every day versus washing them out. What's your advice?
Sure. Well, we'd love to have you hire us to do all of your painting, but I know that painters or homeowners sometimes will do their own painting, and it's important to have a really good brush. I brought one in for you today to show. A lot of people would try to buy a cheap brush or use something that really won't hold up very well. I actually stole this one out of the kitchen drawer this morning. It's got my wife's name on it, so I'd better get it back before she sees. But yes, it's a source of real pride for me that she keeps the bristles so clean, right? Having a professional brush and keeping it clean is the most important. So if you're going to use it tonight and then again tomorrow morning to finish up, it's okay to wrap it up in saran wrap, maybe put it in a plastic bag, but make sure you clean out those bristles really well when you're done.
Very interesting. What about painting a second coat too soon?
Yeah, so people might get in a rush and think, well, I've got to get this done quick. You want to wait the requisite amount of time. So each product is different, but if you're painting a room, painting the walls, it ought to be about 3 or 4 hours between when you started the first coat and when you start the second coat. And
what about that blue painter's tape? Everybody uses it if you're a do-it-yourselfer. When do you remove it? Do you move it when the paint's wet or when it's dry?
Sure. Most folks who do use it to cheat, right? So you're gonna be painting and you're gonna get some on the tape, and then you're worried about, what do I do? If you let that dry and then you pull it off, you're gonna make a big tear. So it's really a good idea, if you do get paint onto the tape, remove the tape right away to give that professional look.
Wow, I never thought about that. And using the wrong brush at the wrong time, latex and oil-based paints, I mean, you can really make some mistakes there. What do you do?
Yeah, I actually brought in two brushes. This is an example of one that's it's actually made out of hog's hairs, like a pig, right?
Yeah.
And it's for oil-based paints only. If you put water on this, it's going to get split ends. They tell me, people with hair, that if you get too much water, you might get split ends. You could get the same thing on your brush, right? And so that would ruin the finish, the cut line. You want to use the right brush for the right product. Nylon brushes are only for latex.
Really? Yeah. I didn't know that. I guess that's why you hire CertaPro to tell you stuff like that. Primer. When's it okay to take a shortcut, and when is a big mistake to not use it?
Well, primers are used for two different reasons. One is because you need to block something. Like, say, maybe you're painting white over a red wall, or you're going to paint yellow over a blue wall. You want to use the right color primer to make the transition. You might also need primer to make the right adhesion. Maybe you're going to put a water-based paint over an oil-based trim. I don't know if you've ever opened a closet door in an older home with oil paint and it's really yellow on the inside. The oils have yellowed. If you want to switch to the newer acrylic technology, you got to prime it first.
Interesting. And one final piece of advice: forgetting to keep some extra paint when the project is done. Explain why this is an error.
This is the biggest challenge. Paints are actually made to the right color at the store when you buy it, and there's calibrations that may fall out of line. If you go to buy a paint today and then go back tomorrow to buy the same paint, it may be just slightly different. And if you went to touch up that yellow over the yellow, it wouldn't be the same. So it's a good idea to keep some of the paint you have left over and put it in the smallest container possible so there's no air in it. Even if that's just a baby food jar, close it up so that there's no air in the container, and it'll keep for a long time.
You know, when I decided I needed to leave the painting to professionals like CertaPro, I did a do-it-yourself job. This was years ago, and I spent about an hour washing out 99-cent rollers. And I said, I don't need to be doing this anymore.
Away,
exactly.
Right?
Bill Sharp, CertaPro. Thank you so much for being with us today. Absolutely. Our final story today: the cost of doing business is way up in one sector of the economy. A particular overnight courier service saw an inflation rate of 23% this year. If you have kids, you may have noticed that the Tooth Fairy is paying out big bucks. Yeah, the average amount that the Tooth Fairy is now shelling out is almost $4. And that brings the inflation rate for teeth to a whopping 42% in the past 2 years. The payment processor company Visa calculates the amount each year in a survey they conduct. Visa says it looks like the Tooth Fairy is currently throwing money around like pixie dust, perhaps a bit too generous for kids. So, if you are a parent and don't know what the going rate that the Tooth Fairy is supposed to leave, well, they've created an app for that. Time for me to thank you for tuning in today and for the guests that came to help us out. Remember, before you make a buying decision, TrustDale.com is there for you to use for free. I don't make you give me any money, your email address, or any information to see my research. It's all there for you to use for free, and I hope you do. And be sure to get my latest updates and deals by following me on Twitter and friending me on Facebook. And we'll see you next time right here on TrustDale TV.